eh, Trying to open the agenda. Everything is extremely slow. So we are going to, 2:31, call the, committee of the whole meeting, to order. And it is very slowly loading my agenda. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and Stallion Nations. With that, we have, an agenda recommendation. Thank you, Rachel. Is there a seconder? Thank you, April. Any objections? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then we are back. We are moving on. Do you have a minutes there, please? Thank you, Rachel. A second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. Are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, then that's carried. And I see Lisa has joined us again. Hi, Lisa. Are there any trustee items? Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
I would just like to follow up if we can, or if this needs to be an agenda item for next month, about the letter that we wrote to the Ministry of Highways for the 30 km/h by the school.
By Signal
And
Hill?
yeah, by Signal Hill. If we were going to move forward with any kind of a speed sign that tells you how fast you're going, or if this was just sort of being dropped based on what Michael was saying in his letter.
Okay, or sorry, Rob. Are we able to comment on that, or can we have it for an update for a future meeting?
I'm not aware of any additional correspondence or.
We didn't receive a letter.
Sure, if we were, yeah, if you know, if we're going to move forward at all with getting a speed sign, or if, because he's saying in his letter that that it's already at a existing speed zone that they're happy with, but there's still constant speeding in that area. It doesn't matter if you're enforced or not. It's a big discrepancy in that area, whether it's 30 or 50. And so many people seem to think that it's 50. So I would like to move forward with getting some quotes if possible about getting a speed sign. And if we can get the ministry to pitch in for that as well.
Like the ones that say flash, like you're slow down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The sad face.
Yeah, there's one that goes up Spring Creek Drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't there one there?
Yeah, there's one. on
Not
Spring
up there.
Creek.
There's one going into PSS.
Okay. All right, so if we can have that on a future agenda to have next steps in the discussion.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you. Any other trustee items? Committee of the whole? Okay, no presentations, information items, trustee calendar. Do you want to take that, Danielle?
Sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over like the next month. I'm not gonna go too far in the future, if that's okay with everybody. So yesterday there was a district inclusion committee meeting. And today's obviously board meeting day. We're gonna be having a Whistler custodian recognition dinner. So the custodians will be joining us for dinner later, which will be really nice. Just for everybody's information, there's actually no certificates to give out to employees today. There's no one hitting any. Yeah. And then next Monday, there's a DPAC meeting in the school board office from 6 to 8. Okay. And then not tomorrow, but the next Thursday, there's an all chairs meeting in Victoria that our board chair Rebecca will be attending.
What was, wait, sorry, going back to the 10th, what's the SDIC?
That's the inclusion committee meeting that happened yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think April, were you in attendance?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And, yeah, and then so next week, Rebecca will be attending the all board chairs meeting.
Yeah.
And then also next week, Cynthia will be attending the BCSDA Provincial Council, which will be held in Vancouver. And that'll be Friday, October 20th to 21st. And then the next thing after that, it's actually going to be Halloween where we're going to be doing agenda setting. So I'm looking forward to seeing costumes at agenda setting committee.
At least from here up.
Yeah. And then November 1st is our first school learning plans sessions. And so we have school learning plans for Don Ross, Mamquam, Howe Sound Secondary, and Statmas. And then we're
And
already,
those are all assigned now?
yeah. And so I'll ask questions on that in a second. And then after that, we have our board meeting. So that's pretty much the next month. And so I guess we can skip to school learning plan schedule. So just in case you were looking at this over the weekend, I think there's a couple adjustments made to it in the last few days. So maybe just take a look at the school learning plan schedule and just please let us know if there are any additional changes or if there's any school learning plans you're not able to attend that you've been assigned to. Is there any scheduling issues as of right now?
And then we'll do the individual invites to them. We'll go out.
I think I have to have where mine changed.
I'll take a look.
I think I'll check it again.
Yeah.
Where mine changed?
Yours did change.
Okay.
So I think we swapped some of Melissa and Celeste.
This is the first time seeing, so I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Rachel,
Yeah.
Okay.
November.
Cynthia? Okay. The only thing I just want to mention that Cal Coombs will probably change because it's right now it's set to a Wednesday and usually Jillian's teaching that day. So I think we tried to move it to like a day she's not doing instruction so that she's not distracted trying to teach and stuff like that. So that one's probably likely to change. Other than that, any trustee Turpin, do you have any scheduling issues?
Nope, I loved it all. However, I will decline unless we've got some less bumpy way to go to Calcouns. I would love to attend, but till the spinal cord can be more stable, it's not a good idea.
So I believe the Calcoon one will probably be online, but
Ooh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
For all of us, or are we making the journey again? No.
oh, that's just for the school learning plan.
Oh, okay.
If we want to do a visit, we can still do that at a different time.
Oh, okay, I see. Different, sir.
Maybe the doctors would have room for her to fly then.
I just went through my mind too.
Yeah.
Let's see if it's a doctor day.
Yeah, so Lisa, the last time we attended, there was a helicopter that landed there, and I think once a week they actually have doctors that come out there for the First Nations.
Yeah,
so
I could be their test patient. That would be great.
Okay. Great. So I think that's it. Any questions on trustee calendar or school learning plans?
No, not seeing any questions there. Good. So we can move on then. So next year up again, trustee professional development.
Yeah, so this is just a continuation of the discussion from last month. And so I just wanted everybody to know that, so I did a review of what other school districts are doing for trustee PD. And it's very inconsistent. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So to give you some examples, some school districts, they only pay for academy and AGM and no extra money for PD outside of that. And then some school districts are putting together like a large pool of money that includes trustee academy and AGM. Some school districts are giving like trustee allocations. So they'll say like each trustee will have $1,000 a year or something like that. And anyway, so I just wanted to point out that it's very inconsistent. So it's really hard for me to be like, oh, this lines with what everyone else is doing because it's really not consistent. But what I did do, we did comb, I shouldn't say because Arshdeep prepared this for us, is I got her to go through what we've spent so far in the last 3 years, just so everyone can see. So I can just quickly show you. I've already talked to you about some of this already. Just 1 second. I just wanted you to see how much we've spent so far. Summarized. So we combed through all the expenses from the last 3 years. And this is just more for your information purposes. So for the last 3 years, Trustee Academy, this is the cost. Obviously, it was quite low in 2020 and 2021, because I think it was all online then due to COVID. And then this is like other costs that we spent on other PD professional development costs. So this would include like expenses related to Robert's Rules or the Canadian School Board Association, cost to travel to that. And so that's kind of like, you know, we decided to pull out the AGM cost because it's kind of not really professional development. I think Trustee Academy is more like you're actually learning stuff, and AGM, you're doing more like voting stuff like that. So we kind of pulled that out, but I kept it here just so you could see. And so what this line here is just the total of the cost of these things divided by 7 trustees, right? So how much it costs per trustee. And then on average, and then this is the cost of AGM. So obviously you can see this year is probably also online. And then this is the Trustee Academy. So these are sort of the costs for the years. And so I just wanted to share that with you just for information. So I kind of think like putting an amount per trustee is too prescriptive, because somebody might need something a little bit less, or somebody might want like something a little bit more. And so like my recommendation is just on looking at, you know, sort of what's being done across other school districts, is that we leave the policy to be the way it is. And there is a section in there says that if we want to, we could put aside like special funds for it. It is right now like all encompassed in this trustee like expenses, like it's a big pot of money sitting inside, and that covers like all the board meeting expenses, like all of those things I just showed you, as well as staff appreciation lunches that you attend at the school learning plans or retirement, actually maybe not the retirement function, but you know, things like that. All the expenses, I think is last year was close to like 90,000 for all the
And what's the budgeted amount set aside?
so the whole thing is like 90,000 we set aside for this year for all of that, and we spent I think last year around 90,000. So altogether. So basically, the only thing that I would reiterate, like I personally think we should leave the policy the same, the way it is. And if somebody's interested in PD, they can put a request forward. And if it's related to their role as, you know, governance and as a trustee and related to your role, I think it should be considered, you know, and everyone, that's just my decision, but I will leave it open for discussion. Yeah. Any thoughts?
Do we have anything identified at how to access? So you just put in a request and.
Yeah, right now our policy just says, you can send a request into the superintendent, secretary, treasurer, and board chair for consideration.
And that's all.
Yeah, and actually our policy specifically says it's for related to like provincial and regional conferences. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a really important clarification to
Yeah.
make, and it may require the direction from the board for staff to look into a policy for professional learning outside of what's already offered, because when we did a deep dive into the policy, it's actually under, and again, to your point, maybe we should have had it up there, but it's actually the heading is for attendance at regional and provincial meetings. So the additional monies are related to other regional, provincial, I guess, like national meetings, like the Canadian Association, School Board Association. So we actually don't have specific provision for other monies on top of that. So if we wanted to consider that would be for the board to let staff know you would like us to do some research and to come up with a policy or a revision under the existing policy for other professional learning opportunities where things like, you know, putting aside a pool or a per person, or, you know, have had that fulsome discussion, because the item in there referencing professional learning again is right under section 3 right here. So if we're going to do this correctly and following, you know, procedurally, see, it's regional and professional conference and meetings, and then it has the statement for folks to make that. I think it's further down for folks to make that application. Where
For this
where
one.
is it? Yes, see, it's under 2.1.2 is under 3. So we actually don't have a section that's about separate courses or opportunities. It's specific to regional and provincial conference and meetings. So I apologize, we didn't catch that last meeting. We actually don't have policy on individual requests. So I think that would require a revision or a new policy.
Yeah, again, I just want to advocate for how important it is for their professional learning opportunities to be made available to the people who are sitting at this table and doing work. And it strikes me as odd that an organization that is responsible for public education in our region wouldn't be prioritizing continuing education for the people that are in leadership positions here.
Well, go ahead, Melissa.
I've been thinking about this a lot after Celeste brought it up last month as well. And I think that it would be a really good idea to have this conversation about perhaps having either a per person allotment in a pool, and if something comes up, and instead of having to maybe wait if it's really time restrictive for something to sign up for, then we know that we have that per person amount available to us, as long as we can justify it afterwards. I think it's worth a conversation.
I guess my response to you, Celeste, would be that to say that we are not supporting further trustees, I think is a little inaccurate, because as identified, we are supporting, and there are learning opportunities, and we do discuss professional development as a team, as a table. And we plan out our year with generally about 4 different items that we have agreed on that we will do. And then also we do have the academy that isn't always taken advantage of, and stuff that helps with some professional development. So I think we are supporting it to the tune of about $90,000 a year and such. So, you know, I just think the only thing that we're saying here is, you know, like, if things are applicable, how do we go about it and support? And maybe if there's something that's in there that might be benefit to all of us, then maybe we should be looking at bringing it into all of us. So, and I think this goes to your request, right? Like when you mentioned it at the last meeting that you wanted to take on a bunch of different classes, and that's fantastic. So,
I think we could be doing more. And I think that, you know, this is super hard work. And I just think that I think that the courses that we're doing are good. You know, should we include the BCSTA fee in what we're spending on education, the 50,000, whatever it is? Probably not, because there's a whole bunch of things. It's not just about education that pays for other stuff. So to say that we're spending 90,000 on education a year, I think is not accurate. But, and I appreciate the effort that is put into the education sessions that we have. I just think we could be doing more. And I think that, you know, especially for someone sitting in the position as chair, there should most certainly be opportunities made available to you for, if you want it outside of what's put together for us by staff, going to outside organizations and being able to sit in rooms with other board chairs or, just other people in leadership positions from other organizations. There's so much value in that. And like I said, I've started taking courses at the Justice Institute in leadership and conflict resolution and all of that stuff, that's going to help us in our work here. So I think that is the next step for us in terms of getting better in our roles and excelling.
Yep, and I understand that, and I agree, I saw your hand, just give me 1 sec. And with Melissa and Celeste, that, we could look at or start that conversation to see about. But again, as we're always being reminded, we have a fiscal responsibility as well to manage our budgets and to see what, what we have available and where we take that from as well, so, April.
And I don't know if this is the right time to ask this, but I feel, and I know we've talked about the professional learning opportunities that we wanted for this year, and I'm not sure if this one was included, but given what's going on right now in the communities around SOGI, there is a, I would have gone to it tonight had I not been here. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called What is SOGI Education? And it's being offered in Squamish tonight between 7 and 9 for all interested parents. I want to know what the parents are hearing. Like I would have gone to this tonight for sure had I been not here.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if we can piggyback on it, if we can have some kind of I want to know what the parents are hearing so that when I'm faced with it in the community, I mean, I have my strong beliefs about it, but I would still rather know what they're hearing. Better armed, right? I feel like I need to be better armed for this particular dialogue that is happening almost every time I go to the grocery store. Anytime, like it's shocking how often it's happening.
So I'm gonna say two things. One, just on that one, I would just remind the board that your staff is really willing and able to share on that topic. And if folks want to propose an extraordinary education session on SOGI, I'm more than happy to share that. Also happy to share that the organization that we're talking about, the City Sky Allies, what they're sharing, because I did call them to learn is exactly what we share with parents. They are sharing the SOGI 123 mandate and resources, and it is word for word from what we have on our website as well, because it's SOGI 123 that we reference as well as our additional services. So I think it's important to note that there is alignment there. I too would have been at the meeting tonight if it was just to show support, if it was not the board meeting. But again, if board members are interested in having another overview of SOGI and where our resources are and what that's aligned with, I'm more than happy to.
You can do it.
To do that. Just let me know when.
Perfect.
we can do a Zoom.
Perfect.
That's easier. I would hate to think the board would feel they would need to go to an outside
Right.
source, because that's something our district was at the vanguard of in 2016 when legislation first came out, and has had SOGI policy since 2012.
Yeah, just to be clear, Chris, I don't mean going to an outside source. I just mean I wanted to know what the parents were hearing,
Oh, I understand.
right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of parents there tonight, for sure. And I just wanted to know what they were hearing, so I knew where they were coming from.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think at least I do see your hand as well.
Two things.
Yeah, just on this one piece. So Melissa and I have had this conversation in the past as well, because she was curious about like, what does this look like? What does it look like in the schools? And so maybe it is a good learning opportunity for us to ensure we're on the same page. Because I did hear from a like early 20s individual this weekend saying, that's why I don't agree with it being taught in the schools. I'm like, so that's still the impression. Lisa, are you wanting to comment on SOGI? No, okay, well, let Chris finish his thought then.
Yeah, my second thought was again, just on the idea of trustee professional development, and my suggestion is that someone make the request at the next agenda setting to have trustee professional learning policy be discussed at policy committee, because recall, a policy committee can be the place for discussion and doesn't necessarily go to the board for approval, because we work on that policy together until such time as we move forward. So
Can,
anyone could,
can we not move that now? Because this request was put in a while back to have that conversation.
I respectfully, I think because of, and I'll own it, I didn't pay as close attention to the existing policy as possible. And the existing policy does not have the space for professional learning outside of those conferences and meetings. So the request that's covered in there is under 3. So just as a procedural matter, you would have to say, oh, there's another meeting happening here on this topic. I'd like to apply for that monies for that learning under this policy. We don't have anything in there about coursework that may be beneficial to, right? It could be a revision, but I'm just saying we don't actually have policy yet.
I think what Rebecca's suggesting is now that we've had this discussion, that,
Can we not look at it and not wait till next?
yeah, like not have to send an email, like we talked about it, so can we leave it with stuff?
Oh, I see. You can make that, you ask for that, because again, it's not one person that directs staff. I think you can. You can say you'd like staff to do X.
I think
Happy
it's
to
a
do
voice of stuff.
Got it.
Yeah. Lisa?
So what I was going to comment was something similar to Celeste, but also on to April, is those learning opportunities as well, when we're looking at recreating potentially part of the policy, is opportunities that are within the corridor for learning opportunities, whether they be the parent meetings, additional Pro-D that teachers are taking. Maybe there's some places that we could or should be so that we can gather more information to make informed decisions at the table. I don't know how that training piece works. If you want to piggyback on a really great keynote speaker that's attending one of the professional development days for the teaching staff or the EAs, or, and I don't know, I just feel, I know we're meant to be removed, but there's sometimes some really great learning and some really great conversations that we could attend, likely free, and just be part of those conversations. And sometimes there are amazing opportunities that we may not be able to facilitate and fund ourselves. And we could even be looking at a cost share component with the board and ourselves. So just throw those little thoughts out as we look at revamping some education thoughts.
Yeah, I'll respond to that. In the past, trustees have been invited to numerous Pro-D events that have occurred. However, they tend to be a Monday or a Friday, and sometimes it's challenging for probably all of us who have other commitments. So, but those opportunities are there. I have not seen anything come out of recent, maybe in the last couple of years. So that might be something to consider if there's a professional development. No, but they're still doing Pro-D. They did last year and we didn't see any invites because some of it might not apply to us. Cynthia, did you have a hand up a minute ago?
I did, but I think the comment that I was going to make, it can wait if we have something come to policy next month.
Okay.
But I also am like searching our policies right now because for some reason I feel like there is a phrase in one of our policies that alludes to taking things offered by, and then it lists a variety of organizations. Or not specifically, but like it says like community service organizations or like vague descriptions of organizations. It's somewhere.
Yeah, we can.
I'll search
Can
for it.
review, but we didn't. Yeah, I didn't see anything else besides 3.1.1.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Listen,
I was just gonna say with regards to Pro D days and it being Mondays and Fridays, it's always nice to be invited and be able to say, I can't make it, then not be invited and be able to say,
Mhm.
yeah, I would have really liked to do that one.
yeah. And that was my point, was saying I haven't seen anything come out.
Yeah.
So maybe there are things that aren't applicable to us, but we might
Some of them
see
sound
how
pretty awesome.
anything that comes out, district level.
Well, the Soji stuff, for example, right? For example.
Yeah, well, that's lost.
Is the senior leadership team having any speakers come in? Like, what do you do for training for your senior leadership team? Like, that's the stuff that I'm interested in, obviously. So just along the same lines as what Lisa mentioned, like if it's already happening and it's free,
Right, so again, you know, if it's related to governance, then, right, or topical conversations like eating teachers and food sustainability, big items like that, where the board has, you know, that knowledge would be a benefit in the role. We look to that. But our staff development for staff is usually tied to BCSSA, so that's our organization. So when we go to our BCSSA conferences, when I go to the Ulster meetings, that's where we're provided with that information and then share back with senior staff, and then anything applicable legislation wise, I would always bring out. So except for there are the joint partner meetings where the chair of the school districts attend, so, and BC has both, so we have joint days as well. But we're very careful, being a smaller district, not to, we wouldn't bring in, because the cost of a special speaker for a team our size would be cost prohibitive. So we don't do that. What we do is try to take advantage of opportunities provided by the ministry. So we're currently waiting. We have an application in to have a team to work with Shane Sapir around inquiry and a problem of practice that has to relate to the achievement of students of Indigenous ancestry. So we have an inquiry put forward, and that's made up of senior team, a teacher, principal, team of 4 or 5. That's what we're currently doing. But we're not currently looking to bring in speakers specifically for us, unless it's offered by BCSSA or newer teams. So we support mentorship programs. So for our new directors, for folks new to our district, new to the role, I did the same thing. We have access to a mentor, which is and mentorship meetings with well-experienced folks in the roles. Often they're retired, and they provide that development for us.
And would that be for you, Paul and Danielle?
I can
Depending
speak
on-
to mine.
yeah,
Mine's
BC has-
different.
yeah,
So-
BC has those for-
Because I'm a professional CPA, all CPAs are required to do 20 hours of professional development a year. And then every 3 years, we're required to do 4 hours of ethics. So we can do that. Actually, BC ASBO does offer a lot of the course material for us. And once a year, they do have like an ethics course as well. So, but the CPAs have lots of resources for CPAs, so we can register courses for them as well.
So Learning Services has BC CASE, which is an acronym for BC Administrators of Inclusive Education. And for Human Resources, there's also professional development opportunities for Dave Duncan. So in each area, there are the opportunities, and we have our professional development funds attributed to us as part of our contract that we use to attend those. And it's a good point, because few and far between have I ever seen it say, you know, invite your secretary treasurer, let alone an opportunity for a board member to attend. I think it's that actually potentially separation between operations and governance where they don't do those pieces, but certainly something to consider moving forward.
all of the professional development that we have staff attend as well. So, there is, and maybe it's because you're involved in organizing it, but I don't know that there has to be so much protection or separation or, worry about stepping on toes on one side or the other. I think we do a good job here of establishing what the boundaries are and any opportunity for inclusion in terms of learning where there is overlap in terms of the skills that we both need on, different sides of the table. It would be really nice to be included.
Well, again, I don't have that control, right? That's a BCSSA, they.
Totally,
they
where
decide to
possible,
Connect. with.
where possible.
Mhm.
You wouldn't find the CPA stuff worthwhile either. It's just very specific for accountants, so. The ethics stuff is actually very interesting. It's very interesting. That would be applicable for everybody. Yeah.
Anyone else? Where are we?
I was just gonna ask that.
I think it sounds like they're
We want to direct
We
staff to
wanna-
have a review.
to, yeah, so we're thinking we want to do like a separate policy for trustee professional development. Is that what I'm hearing? Or like just an add-on to be more clarified in this part of it?
But I think 211 is, would be the place to have a
Mhm.
condition. Because it's all under
Trustee expenses.
trustee expenses.
Mhm.
So there could be a separate item, right? Just to-
Yeah, so what I can do is see if there's any other clarifications in other school districts, professional development. I know some don't have any, but I can look around, see what they have. in Their school districts and come forward with the recommendation for the next board meeting.
We'll do our best. We have a number of policies come forward in the next board meeting as well. So I just, right, just respectfully.
Bear with us.
Yeah, right, and you may ask what's the priority.
I said,
Go ahead.
I feel like that's a lot of work at this point, and we have like a couple of big important policies like that we talked about earlier that need to go back for staff revision. And personally, I feel like our policy is quite strong right now. So I, for one, think that we should maybe leave it at the time for the time being, because I think we have matters that are more important. But that is just my opinion, and we can decide what we want to do as a
I think even just to have it on the list, it doesn't mean that it needs to be like a top priority or anything. I think out of respect for Celeste's request that we can have a look. But then we also need to consider if we're going to be putting something like that into place, that before we start accessing personally wanting to do some professional development, that we're utilizing everything that's available to us right now, free. Free or already included. And some of the items were listed. Anyone have any objections to that? That it just be low priority for now or lower priority, but you have some bigger things to tackle?
That would be reasonable.
You okay with that? Okay. Then with that, we can move on. Board committees, Mr. Nicholson.
All right, so if folks recall from last meeting, I was tasked with doing a little bit of an overview, looking at other districts about board committees. And what I found is depending on the size of the district, smaller districts tend to have less committees, not that they do less work, but our policy committee, for example, covers all policies, regardless of whether they're financial in nature, whether they're related to education or other things. Districts that have 9 trustees, such as Vancouver, have a separate education policy committee and operations policy committee. For operations meaning things like facilities, rentals, and education being things like appeals, etc. So the bigger districts tend to spread, obviously makes sense. They're going to spread their folks out. Smaller districts tend to have much smaller number of committees. So, for example, New Westminster, 7 trustees, 8 elementary, 3 middle, 1 secondary. So 12 schools, 6,200 kids, K to 12. They have, they do separate operations and policy over here, education policy and planning there. And then they have, an example of education policy would be like their programs of choice review and their operations policy and planning committee. They're experiencing huge growth, so they have a committee looking at ensuring that they're doing proper planning for growth in certain areas. The SBA I mentioned with 9 trustees and 48,000 students, they have a policy and governance committee, a facilities planning committee, an educational committee, a finance committee, and a personnel committee, and that is for hiring of senior exempt staff. So unlike our district, we have a member sit, the chair or the vice chair on our recruitment for principals. Vancouver doesn't. They only do directors and up because they're so much bigger. They would be constantly looking for people to sit on, right, hiring committees as they go through, with 48,000 students and 89 elementary and 18 secondary schools. Something wouldn't have the people. So Sunshine Coast, I wanted to also look at someone next door to us. They have a committee of the whole, an operations committee, and an education committee. What I found interesting, which I appreciated, a number of districts are very clear on naming ad hoc committees, which are time limited and are normally appointed to complete a task, after which time they cease to exist. And our policy 13.1 about board form committees, it provides, I think, the space for that by saying they can form a committee to study, investigate, or report on any matter. So the reason I'm naming that is we had some discussion about the early learning committee, and the early learning committee was as Trustee Higgins recalled, specifically formed in the 2019-2020 school year to specifically do a task, to gain a better understanding of the unique needs in our communities for early learning spaces, document and track what is currently being offered, and then take this information to advise senior team and the board on any strategies that may come from this information. And the culmination of that was the early learning community partnership review that happened in November of 2021. You can go back in the minutes and see that report. The board approved the report, and it was concluded at that time that the work of the committee was done, but the early learning committee was still kept on our agenda. And I think that's on me. And what I probably should have done at that time was, following that report and that approval, was probably put it forward and perhaps ask the trustee sitting on the committee, Cynthia, to recommend that the board disband the early learning committee in its current form because its mandate had been met. That said, I think that the request from trustees to get updates on matters that we're working on is certainly welcomed, and I support that. But I don't think, as we said before, we ever want to meet for the sake of meeting unless there's a specific reason. But that doesn't mean trustees shouldn't ask for updates and reports on what's happening in our district.
Yeah, I think that,
Helpful?
yeah, I think that's well said and wraps up a lot of what I was thinking. And I just want to add to that a little bit, that having sat on that committee from its inception, my role there was fully governance. Like, we created the parameters and the framework for what was going to happen as childcare was coming more into the picture with the education world. And once all that governance work was completed, like Chris said, we came up with the document and that was approved. And since then, I can't think of any governance work that needs to be done in that area. I feel like the work is set, the work is being done, and that's all operational now. And so just to have a report is probably the stage that we're at this point. And then maybe as things change with the ministries merging, and if the ministry is asking us to become more responsible for a greater amount of childcare in any sort of other form, like right now we run a lot of it through an outside organization. If that should change, then maybe there's another role for governance. But right now, as I see it, that governance piece is completed. But reports would be good, just so we know how things are going.
We actually have one a little bit later when we update on the DC Valley Cliff Elementary
Yeah, exactly.
property with the child care space.
Anything else under board committees? Guess you have anything more to add or good?
But I would ask for the formal
Yeah,
dissolution of the committee, so it's not always on the
so
agenda.
So we want
A motion or? Yeah. Draft something? Rockstar back there?
Yeah. She's gonna drop.
any comments?
Well, we've asked everyone if they
Yeah,
want any
okay.
comments. So if there's anything additional. Yeah. Disband be the one?
Dissolution.
I think it's dissolved.
Dissolve.
Does that look okay? Emotional?
Blocked.
Oh,
Somebody's
I'm sorry. If you would like, I can pull it up.
there. So can you guys see the recommendation?
Pulling it up there.
I'm prepared to make that.
I can make it that the Board of Education dissolves the Early Learning Committee.
Cynthia, is there a second for that? Melissa beat you to it, April. And all those in favor? Any discussion? Yes.
Do we want to add, I don't know if it's worth it or not. We want to say that the Board of Education dissolves the Early Learning Committee and then something about, and will reinstate as necessary or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking similar thing to say as it's mandate as per the terms of reference has been completed. Because if you have a new committee, then we'll have a new terms of reference and maybe it's about hiring staff for, you know,
Yeah.
or that SD 48 will eventually take over management, for example.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would just, I think it's important to note that we're not doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because we've met the mandate of the original terms of reference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then maybe that leaves a little bit more openness that it can be
Absolutely.
opened again when, and I think things will change. And we will need someone to sit on a committee and govern those new pieces as they come down from the ministry.
Think we have to defeat it. No, do we have to defeat it?
Sure.
It's the fastest
You're
way, it's
correct.
just defeat it, yeah.
Especially after it's been debated.
We did it first and second.
So you have
Yeah,
to,
maybe all in favor and then.
No, that's not discussion though. You changed the.
Yeah.
You changed the. Yes.
Correct.
I think we can either amend it, which is lengthy.
You can do a friendly amendment.
Or you can
Oh.
just say all in favor and nobody can put their hands up and we can start fresh.
yeah, you have to vote on it now that it's been discussed.
Totally.
Okay, yeah.
Rebecca, take it away.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Defeated. Now.
Now, I would like to make a friendly amendment. maybe?
No, just a new one.
Yeah,
Okay, there's a new motion that the Board of Education dissolves the Early Learning Committee as the original mandate of the committee has now been met.
Second,
Thank you, Lisa.
may I have a new committee, please? I'm now lonely.
Any discussion on this?
May I now have a new committee? I'm now lonely.
All those in favor? Opposed? That was everyone anyway, so we're good.
I'd say it was lonely before because of.
Thanks.
I know we never did anything. It's like, please let me do something.
Hey, do we have any?
Careful what you wish for, it's coming.
Yeah.
Ah,
We have
oh,
for,
cool.
BCSTA Provincial Council?
Isn't that
We
the one?
can't create Celeste
that you
into a
talked
late motion, can we? Or can we? Is it emergent?
It has to be emergent,
Yeah,
so
okay, is that emergent?
I think that would be a
I don't
good
think so.
idea to put that forward for maybe the AGM.
I think
Which
so too.
one?
Yeah, I think that's. what
The,
Oh, okay.
about having benefits for trustees.
Oh, okay, well, we already decided.
Oh,
that
can we?
Staff is going to, you missed that portion, Lisa.
Sorry.
So I think we already decided that staff is going to put together
into
and research it, and then we'll discuss if it's something we want to bring forward to AGM.
Is that
Oh,
fine?
okay.
We have.
AGM.
time.
It's for
Not a
AGM.
good-
AGM in this.
AGM.
It's not till-
AGM's in May.
Yeah, BCSTA.
So
That's what I thought, like. we're not-
So this is
It's
provincial council, this is
Although I
different
think
again.
that-
Yes.
good.
So this one in particular, we are trying to discuss whether or not we have any late motions which need to be emergent to bring forward to provincial council. Are there any? Okay.
Do you-
Here.
I would like to suggest one.
I have an idea too, actually.
I would, it would be, because I believe I was in the impression, and I've been very open about this in public meeting, so I'm not afraid to say it again, that, many in the field, were, expecting a letter of support for human rights inclusive of SOGI from the Minister of Education. That did not happen. And I think given all that's happened, around the issues of SOGI and the ongoing issues in many school districts. I think that a letter of support, again, from the new Minister of Education, as Minister Whiteside did in the past, would be very well received in our learning communities. So I would suggest that the board put that forward, because that is emergent and I think it's very important.
From whom? Sorry.
The Minister.
From the minister directly?
Mr. Singh.
It's interesting that that's not.
In fact, other boards may be doing the same.
Yes.
I'm a bit disappointed that that's not already there.
Yeah, me too.
I am too.
Chris, you both, you put out great words to that statement because I had been thinking a lot about the state that we're in right now in relationships to SOGI, and I felt like that was an emergent topic, and I think I would really support standing up and bringing that motion forward. And I think it's super timely. I think it's super important, and I think that the minister should.
And this is happening next week?
It's happening
Next
next
week.
Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate, Premier Eby did make a statement in response to a BCTF letter that was made public, which I appreciate. But again, I feel that the person most responsible for education should take stand.
Do we require a motion for that?
Yes.
Oh, maybe.
Yes, I figured so. Yeah.
I'm not good at wording motions, but I wouldn't mind making that motion.
I could,
That we send a letter to, is that what you're suggesting? That we send a letter from the board to the Minister of Education to,
No,
The BCSDA.
No.
one.
sorry, BCS.
that we bring it, that Cynthia in particular brings it to
Okay.
provincial council next week.
Yeah.
Asking that
The
the
minister,
BCSTA sends a
Okay.
request for the minister to support.
that,
Well, there's-
that's the motion. Did you get it, Archie, or do I need to say it again? Okay, good.
and then maybe we can put the whole process of that all. thinking about it.
What do you mean?
The person for bringing forward the past.
Yeah.
As the main motions to make case come from the floor.
Well, if it's here, then there's something must have come forward
Should read the instructions.
that would
There-
have the instructions attached. This is going there.
Seems
There's
too
no
risky to
email.
leave it till last minute.
Cynthia, did you say you had something for provincial council? When
It
Chris
was the
spoke up,
same
you said,
It's the same as.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
I think I know what's going to happen.
Oh, no, that's good.
Right? Your life that happened. Just, I see, there you go again, making assumptions.
And there are other school boards, and I don't know if it's proper to send a letter of support from a school board to another school board in support, but there are other school boards in this province that are really taking a lot of heat over this, and I'm particularly connected with the Chilliwack School Board, and what's going on in Chilliwack is
Mortifying.
mortifying.
I'm Abbotsford.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I have a personal connection to Chilliwack, so I know what's happening there. And I'm wondering how many other school boards in British Columbia are under that level of attack, and if it's appropriate ever to send a letter of support from our board in support of those people. Like I do it personally because I know of some of those trustees, but some of the things that are going on across the province, maybe a nice word of support
Yeah,
would be nice.
we're with you.
Yeah, we're with you and we're
Yeah.
thinking of you and, like, we're lucky that it's not happening to us.
I think it's gonna be a really hot topic at PTS.
Oh, it's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think maybe that'll bring us. I'm
Together?
hoping-
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
together,
you're
and
right.
Maybe some clarification, because I'm still having a hard time, and I feel like there's some parents out there who are frustrated that I'm not seeing what they're seeing, because I'm frustrated that I'm not seeing what they're seeing, because I can't get there.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's,
I think so
It's a
also,
struggle.
I would expect also that at the trustee academy, there's going to be some sort of professional learning session about this, I would
Mhm.
think.
I really want to see a debate. I want to see an old fashioned debate. I want to see someone who's anti-Soji and someone who's pro-Soji, and I want to see a debate. If that's what I want.
You sure we're not gonna get that one?
And I don't want it in the sense of anything negative. I want to see it so that I can see the full picture of like,
What it is people are seeing.
how are you getting me? Yeah. What do you see?
So we have a recommendation there now? Anyone prepared to make that?
That the Board of Education approves a motion to the BCSTA Provincial Council advocating for a letter from the Minister of Education and Childcare in support of Soji.
Thank you, Melissa. Second by April. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, and then that's carried. There are no action items. Do we have any questions of clarification from the public? Okay, then we have completed the business of this agenda and we are now adjourned. Okay, when's our next one starting? Right now?